So this is our psychology and film project by Ashley Cabrera and Emma Wagner, and the film that we chose was Batman Begins. So the main character of Batman Begins is Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, and so Batman Begins takes place in Gotham, and throughout the movie, Gotham just kind of has a very dark and gloomy look and feel to it, which represents the both the emotions and the attributes of the characters. And so Bruce Wayne developed a phobia of bats at a young age after falling into a well swarmed by bats. And this sort of phobia kind of heightens after his parents' death. And due to this phobia and all of the emotions that came with it throughout his childhood and early adulthood, this led to both the development and rise of his sort of alter ego, Batman. So, the diagnosis. Throughout the movie, it can be seen that Bruce Wayne develops and suffers from severe anxiety, but the specific anxiety disorder would be specific phobia. And so his phobia is of bats. This phobia kind of develops after he falls into a well surrounded by bats, and it just slowly affects his way of life as he gets older. Um, and the culture of this film is very accepting of his anxiety, as it shows throughout the movie the different ways that he overcomes it or tries to sort of incorporate the weakness of the anxiety and kind of turn it into strength in that sense. So the evidence, um, in DSM-5, it says that a main diagnosis criteria of specific phobia is that it will cause impairments in the way that an individual function in their everyday life, and that can be seen very well through Bruce Wayne throughout the movie. So at the very beginning of the film, Bruce suffers from both nightmares and panic attacks from the phobia. Um, the film starts with him waking up from nightmares that consist of bats, and he gets panic attacks from this phobia. As the movie sort of continues, him and his family went to a play, and during that play, there were performers that were dressed up as bats and kind of acting in bats as a sense, which kind of triggered a panic attack and sort of caused him to feel a little bit overwhelmed. And because of this, they were forced to leave the play early, which ended up leading to his parents' death. And so the idea of bats induces immediate fear and anxiety that won't go away. And as the film continues, Bruce becomes a very irritable person. He constantly pushes people away, whether it's childhood friends, his butler, and he just refuses to build a foundation in Gotham. He sort of has that mentality and that kind of lifestyle where he runs away from his issues rather than dealing with it head on. And he just does not want to accept any responsibility within Wayne Enterprises, as he views that as sort of building a foundation within Gotham that he just does not want. And so these are just examples from the movie that show the impairments that the phobia has caused and the way that he functions in his everyday life. And so some treatments that we think that that would help Bruce Wayne get over his anxiety is both exposure therapy and cognitive therapy. So with exposure therapy, the individual is not necessarily forced, but should face one of their fears in hopes of like counter conditioning how they got that phobia in the first place. And so this will allow one to loosen the phobia that they're exposed to in that they're exposed to in its fear in small doses. And so this would be recommended to Bruce Wayne as he is kind of already experiencing exposure therapy throughout the movie, whether it's by getting exposed to bats or just becoming Batman in itself to kind of get rid of that anxiety that he's always had. He's doing small things without realizing it that would be classified as exposure therapy. And so the other thing that we think would be recommended to Bruce Wayne would be cognitive therapy, which helps changes both thinking and individual patterns. Um, this helps individuals recognize their thinking that causes problems and evaluates them. And so this would be recommended to Bruce Wayne and would be appropriate for the specific phobia because it allows Bruce Wayne to recognize his thoughts about this phobia and how they are connected to the reaction and emotions, which will help him challenge and rid these thoughts. And so the broader context is that we believe that specific phobia is portrayed well throughout this movie as it displays the many symptoms that you would see when suffering this type of anxiety disorder. This portrayal in film influences our understanding of these disorders as it shows through a first person perspective, as well as bring awareness to what an individual may experience with this disorder. Thank you.